And the air conditioning was wonderful. Good
Yes.
thing because it was very hot.
Oh, I know.
The tires are hard to get. If you blow a tire on that car, you have a hard time getting a tire.
Are they the one? Does he have the 20-inch rims? Is that what makes it 10 to 20-inch wheels?
Something about that.
I don't know, but they're rare is a rare variety, and they had to particularly get the. They had to have the wheel car. They had to have the wheel ordered, so that it could be replaced. But so for the time being, he uses the spare and then puts the one with the nail in it where the spare tire is.
So you had a flat on the way up, huh?
We did. They did it before we got there.
Oh, before.
Yeah.
Oh, all that driving, you'd expect that. But we did get up to where all the missiles are stored for the underground silos for the missiles.
Mm-hmm.
That's now ancient history in a way.
Yes.
But
It's sort of
we got to see the town and
a
the area.
museum.
Brought back the old memories of all that stuff. I thought, oh my God, I forgot about that years and years ago.
Yes.
So
one of the summer before I went on my mission, I worked for the Canadian Western Natural Gas Company, and we were putting in a high pressure gas line to one of those mid-Canada radar stations, and they had this as part of their North American defense. They put in some radar stations that went across the middle of Canada, and then another set went up across the Alaska, up in the northern border, Northwest Territories. And the job that I had was to help put a 5.5 mile, 4-inch high pressure gas line into one of these radar stations so they could power the generators and heat the equipment and stuff in the wintertime. So that was my summer job. I spent the whole summer. They were welding this pipe together, and then we were wrapping it. We had a machine that would wrap it with like electric tape. It was big, thick black tape. You'd wrap it with this electric tape, and then another spool of tar paper. A little machine sat on the pipe, and it would spin. The spindles would go around, and you just wrap the whole pipe all the way. The first job, they went in with a big brush cutter, and it has a blade on it that slices off the trees, and the trees fell out into the forest, so we had to cut them up in lengths and pull them into the right-of-way and then haul them out. So we were 4 weeks just cutting trees down with a chainsaw. The most boring job you've ever had in your life. Day after day after day, just cutting trees with a chainsaw and pulling them out.
That's really dangerous work.
It was.
That you cut a tree and then it falls down. It just drops vertically for a moment. Did yours do that?
Yeah, they did. Then they fell over like this.
That's right, yeah.
Some of them would fall in around and make a bow.
Yeah.
And I happened to be standing on the wrong side of a tree while I was cutting the top off, and then I could see in a minute what was happening.
Get out of the way.
And so I jumped just as that tree sprung loose. It hit me across the shins.
Really?
And knocked me into the brush, but I had jumped. If I had been standing on the ground, it would have broken my legs. But I just jumped up, and it hit me. Knocked me into the brush.
I had an experience like that with a tree that fell and missed me.
Oh. Well, Montana is such a wonderful place to go. It's so open still.
Not in the wintertime.
No. Yeah, you have to be a hardy person to.
It's beautiful now, but all my cousins, when they were going to college, they wore ski suits and never did take them off in the classroom or anything else. They kept them on all the time.
Now this is your Krause family.
That's right.
Now, how many siblings did you have?
I had one brother.
One brother. And so how do you get 100 Krauses?
Well,
Good question.
my grandfather
Uh-huh.
had and grandmother had eight children, and they were most of them were more prolific than my family was.
So your mother was one of the 8.
No, my father.
Your father was
a Krause.
Your father was one of the 8.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and he was the only one that went on to college because he was one of the younger ones, and all of the other older brothers got pieces of the farm. By the time I got down to him, there was no piece left, so he went on to college and became a veterinarian.
Ah, yes. Well, there was a hidden blessing in that too.
There was. Indeed.
Yeah. Well, I know it's.
Yeah, he never had any trouble going to school. He was one of the brighter ones anyway, so just as well.
And worse yet, there were no golf courses, but there is a couple of good golf courses now.
Yes. Yes.
But when we were at the reunion, the couple that had their 50th anniversary, she had grown up on the farm.
Oh yeah.
And the ranch there, and so she remembered it very dearly. And they had gone to, when the family had always gone to church there every Sunday at this church that they'd built on the ranch, and so we all went to this little church that all of the family has used for.
It was initially the first time I saw it, like a church with clapboard sides and barely standing.
Mm-hmm.
That was maybe 10, 20, or 15 years ago. We went there this time. Now it's a solid, beautiful built
Little church, and
it's small, but it's now really fancy, well done church.
And now there have been two windows put in the church. One, the daughter had, one of the older sons had gotten married and had died right after he got married, and he died before the baby was born, and this daughter dedicated this window to her father.
Mm-hmm.
And all the other cousins contributed money for a window on the other side, so they got two nice windows from
stained glass or
stained glass.
Oh, beautiful. So, would the family rebuilt the church? Is that what happened, or did the?
Oh, it's a house or whatever they call it, where they can have gatherings for dinners and things,
Mm-hmm.
and that's him. And sure enough, she would. So, before she went, she insisted on taking this great big bell because she was scared to death of Indians. And if any Indians came nearby, she was to ring the bell, and all the men from the field were to come and protect her. And this big bell is still right by the house.
Hanging on the pole.
Yeah. And they used it. They never did use it because Indians went by. But they used it to call the people in to lunch or dinner.
Oh my, those are great stories.
Yeah.
Half as wide as this living room, and it's just a premier trout fishing area.
Some of the Krauses lived in Dillon, and they still live in Dillon.
Yeah, I think there's a little.
Do you drive by the Beaverhead River when you're going up to Canada?
Yeah. Not when you go on, if you start at Dillon and go north on I-15, you don't. But if you go a little to the east on through Twin Bridges and come in at Boulder, you cut off the loop through Helena, through the mountains over the pass, then you follow along the Beaverhead River. I have some neighbors that would go up there every year to go fishing. They would go camp along the river and fish for a week. They made $300 a month. Back then it was just the best part about this was that there was no gas bill because they lived with a gas company, and they got free natural gas, and so the furnace was heated, the heating was free, and we had a gas freezer and a gas refrigerator, so because it was free. And the rent was free. You didn't have to pay any rent to live in these houses because it was provided by the company. So there we were, 6 kids. We had a bedroom, 2 bedrooms upstairs and 1 bathroom, and a bedroom downstairs that my 4 brothers and I, 4 of us slept in. And we had a fruit room. And we would raise chickens in the summer, and then in the fall, we'd have a slaughter day when we'd start to kill chickens, and my mother would can chicken for about a month. So we'd have 150 or 200 quart bottles of chicken, which would then be one of the staples for the winter. We had potatoes and carrots, which we grew in our garden. We had some bins down in the basement. We had that vermiculite insulation, and we'd dump these potatoes and carrots in this vermiculite and cover them over, and then we'd go down and you could reach in and get carrot. You'd sort of keep them cool. Well, she'd also can fruit. British Columbia, they have a lot of fruit in Kelowna Valley, so we would take a trip there and buy boxes of peaches and apples and apricots and cherries. We'd eat all the cherries. She'd can a few. They were the real treat, to have a quart of canned cherries for dessert. And I remember my mother having done a big batch of peaches. And Bobby, will you carry the peaches down the basement and put them on the shelves? Well, I was 12 or something, you know, and how you hated, it was like walking a mile to go downstairs. It was too far. And to actually have to work, oh, that was too bad too. She'd get so exasperated with me, so finally she got me into carrying the peaches down. So I put on my sister's little slip-on sandals, and I got 4 quarts of peaches like this. I'd put them in my arms, and I'd walk downstairs, and I'd set them up on the shelf, and I'd come back up, and I'd carry about 48 jars of peaches I had to carry. And I didn't want to put them in a box. I want to just carry my arms. Don't you drop those peaches. You'll be in big trouble if you drop those peaches. So I won't drop them, Mama. I won't drop them. So I had 4 quarts of peaches like this in my sister's little slip-on sandals. And going down the basement stairs, the heel on one of those sandals caught on the step. And I lurched forward. And in order to save myself, I let go of the peaches and grabbed the handrail. So there's 4 quarts of peaches just down the stairs, smash on the basement floor. Glass, peaches, sweet juice, sticky, gooey stuff.
At the same time as the root beer?
No, this is a different time. So then my day was ruined because I must have spent 2 hours down there scooping up peaches and glass and mopping the floor, and it was still sticky, so I had to mop it again. I probably wasn't mopping it very well, but I thought as a kid I was doing a great job because I ran the mop over the floor. So she made me mop it, I think 3 times before it was not sticky any longer. But the worst was 4 quarts of peaches were destroyed. And I tell you, that was heartbreaking for my mother, and she was mad at me for not being careful. You know, you learn. I never forgot that, because the first summer we got married, I worked as a dairyman's helper. The regular dairyman for Metal Gold Dairy had a hernia operation, and he couldn't do any work. And so they hired a school teacher who had worked summers for them before to run the milk runs for the summer, 4 months in the summer, but he only agreed to do it if they could hire a hottie, someone who would carry stuff for him. So they hired me. I lived across the street, and I went over and asked them if they needed to have a helper. So I didn't have a job, so they paid me like $4.50 an hour or something, which was great. And so I worked that summer stocking grocery stores with all their dairy products and fruit punch. There was a market out in American Fork, a Reams market, and the manager never wanted to have the dairy crew in there after 9 o'clock in the morning. He wanted everybody out of there so his store could be loaded. And they were pigs. They had this ramp. You had to go down about a 30-foot ramp, a sloped ramp, into the store from the back so you could carry in the produce. Well, we would take in this half gallon, these paper, 2-quart paper cartons. You know how they had to fold the top over, you open them up, the old paper cartons? We were taking fruit punch in, and we would put 9 half-gallon cartons in a basket, and then stack the baskets 5 high. So there's 2.5 gallons in each basket, and there's 5 on the side. So there's 22.5 gallons of fruit punch, and we'd put it on a 2-wheel hand truck and go down the ramp and set it in the store, and then, because he wanted us to go fast. Well, the grocery people were always really messy back there. They were taking the butts off banana stalks, and they were There was always lettuce, and the ramp was slimy from lettuce and banana butts. And one day the manager, we were running late because the driver had forgot to hook the stack of milk in the truck, and he'd gone around the corner and a whole stack of milk had fallen over and just dumped inside the truck. So we had to stop and clean that out. Oh, it was sour, it was awful. By the end of the day it was rotten. Anyway, we were about a half an hour behind schedule, and the manager was down at the bottom of the ramp just haranguing us for being late. Hurry, you guys, hurry, I want you out of here. So I was coming down the ramp. I had a hand truck with 2 wire baskets, 10 baskets on this hand truck full of fruit punch. And I was hurrying, and that hand truck, the one wheel hit a banana butt, and the whole thing went like this, and the minute it hit, all the top split open, and this great geyser of fruit punch went down the ramp and just up the front of his suit, all the way up to his chin. He just about blew his stack. I thought he was going to have a heart attack. I just soaked him, and I had red fruit punch and purple fruit punch, and it just soaked him. I thought we were going to lose the account. He was so mad. Oh, he was mad. But it was his own fault. I mean, they never kept the store clean. The ramp was always covered with dirt and lettuce. It was awful.
You told him that.
Well, yeah. I was a 21-year-old, 22-year-old guy, and I wasn't going to be... I didn't want to lose my job. It was a hoot. I never forget the look in that guy's face. His face went as red as the fruit punch. He was so mad.